Taiwan calls for restraint in South China Sea. Taiwan's government has reasserted its sovereignty over the South China Sea and called on all claimants of the disputed waters to exercise restraint amid rising tensions. In a statement released late Friday, Taiwan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs (MOFA) expressed stern protest and concerns on the actions and statements of some countries in the region pertaining to the South China Sea.
And we needed to arm ourselves for the war.
The MOFA reiterated that the Republic of China (ROC), the formal name of Taiwan, has indisputable rights over South China Sea features and their surrounding waters under international law. The statement did not mention any specific countries or incidents. It was issued after a series of recent incidents that has caused tensions to rise in the region. Around mid-April, a Chinese government survey ship and an exploration vessel operated by Malaysia's state oil company Petronas engaged in a standoff in waters near Malaysia, prompting two American military ships to sail near the area. On April 18, China announced the establishment of two administrative units on islands in the South China Sea, involving the Paracel Islands and the Spratly Islands, which drew protests from Hanoi, which said Beijing's move violated Vietnam's sovereignty. 4 days later, the Philippine government lodged two protests against China, one for the pointing of a gun control director (GCD) by a Chinese military ship at a Philippine Navy vessel in Philippine waters in February, and another for Beijing declaring an area Manila sees as Philippine territory as part of China's Hainan province on April 18. The ROC government urges all parties concerned to exercise restraint and refrain from taking unilateral actions that could elevate tensions in the region, the MOFA statement said. It also solemnly protests and calls for an immediate stop to any actions that infringe upon ROC sovereignty over the South China Sea. The Taiwan government maintained that disputes in the South China Sea should be resolved by setting aside differences and promoting joint development, adding that it is willing to participate in regional consultation mechanisms regarding the disputes. Taiwan, Brunei, China, Malaysia, the Philippines and Vietnam have been locked in overlapping claims over the South China Sea for decades. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations, to which Brunei, Malaysia, the Philippines and Vietnam are members, are currently negotiating with China for a code of conduct to regulate actions in the South China Sea. Taiwan was not invited to be part of the negotiations due to the so-called One China policy being observed by the other claimants and most governments worldwide. The USS Barry, an American Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, sailed through the Taiwan Strait on Thursday, according to a Facebook post by the U.S. 7th Fleet. In the post Friday morning, the U.S. 7th Fleet said that the vessel made the transit during routine underway operations, in support of security and stability in the Indo-Pacific region. Earlier in the day, Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense (MND) said a United States warship had recently sailed through the Taiwan Strait in a southerly direction, but it did not identify the vessel or say when the transit occurred. The USS Barry had transited through the Taiwan Strait on April 10, also from north to south, according to the MND and the U.S. 7th Fleet. Meanwhile, the MND said Thursday it had been monitoring the Chinese aircraft carrier, the Liaoning, which made an eastward passage through the Bashi Strait to the south of Taiwan Wednesday after conducting training exercises in the South China Sea. The MND also released a black and white aerial surveillance photograph of the Liaoning but did not say where or when the photo was taken. A U.S. warship sailed through the sensitive Taiwan Strait for the second time in a month, the militaries from Taiwan and the United States said on Friday, amid heightened tensions between Taiwan and China and as a Chinese aircraft carrier passes near the island. China, which considers Taiwan its own, has been angered by the Trump administration's increased support for the island, such as more arms sales, U.S. patrols and a February visit to Washington by Vice President-elect William Lai. Taiwan's defense ministry said the U.S. warship traveled through the narrow Taiwan Strait that separates the island from China in a southerly direction and was continuing to sail south. Taiwan's armed forces monitored the ship, which it described as being on an ordinary mission, the ministry added, without providing further details. Lieutenant Anthony Junko, a U.S. 7th Fleet spokesman, named the ship involved as the guided missile destroyer USS Barry and said it had conducted a routine Taiwan Strait transit in accordance with international law. The ship's transit through the Taiwan Strait demonstrates the U.S. commitment to a free and open Indo-Pacific. The U.S. Navy will continue to fly, sail and operate anywhere international law allows. 2 weeks ago the USS Barry also sailed through the strait, on the same day that Chinese fighter jets took part in drills close to the island. Taiwan said on Thursday that a Chinese aircraft carrier group had sailed to its south through the Bashi Channel that sits between Taiwan and the Philippines and was heading east.